Welcome once again to another episode of Stu and Him Productions present
J&M Solve the World. I'm James.
and I am still Matt.
Along with our partner in crime, Andy.
Or,
Bullwinkle.
a.k.a. Bullwinkle. The man, the myth, and legend. Well, anyway,
A legend in his own mind.
you damn right. Yeah, thank you for that. That one too.
Too many
Tonight,
toys.
yeah. Tonight, I think we should discuss our music career in the band that we were a part of. Blindside.
Mm-hmm.
We had to bring a CD in here to show everybody. Damn it. We actually recorded a CD in 1997 at Kerrville Studios in Branson, Missouri. Now, that being said, you probably think we were a country band. No.
No,
Not even close.
furthest from the truth.
Right.
The
That intro music you heard was off of our CD, by the way, so
and let's see here. Let's go
a
into
little sample of some
Watch
other.
this. There's part of it.
My favorite song off of our CD.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The name of that song was 12.
And
It had nothing to do with any of the lyrics. It was just a 12th song we
Wait
wrote.
for it, wait for it, wait for it. Wait
that
for it.
was and it was funny when we went to name that song because we were like, what do we do? And I'm like, why don't we just call it 12? And it was like, why 12? I'm like, because it's the 12th song. Oh yeah, and we could do like Roman numerals. It's like, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Now this one was fucking. It started off as a jam that we did, and then it was just like, hey, what can my processor do? Oh wow,
Exactly.
what can my processor do? And the greatest part about recording this in the studio is the vocals there, as you can hear.
That's me,
The
by the way.
yeah, that's James singing vocals on that. The echo and the demonic undertone there. James had no idea that was happening. Our engineer added that, and we heard it in the actual studio. And James, being the only one in the recording studio, laying down the vocals with the headphones on, he didn't hear any of that, and he didn't. He was looking at us like, "What the fuck are these guys doing?" And we're like, "Yeah."
All I heard was because we went in initially and we laid down basically a scratch track. We all just played the songs. And so when we went back and done our individual parts and everything, and like I say, I done vocals on that. And I'm sitting there and I'm, hey.
I'm glad he done that on you instead of me.
But I'm sitting there and I'm in this sound booth and I'm looking across this big studio and them guys up in the control room. And I'm like, why are they laughing? Am I sucking that bad? What the fuck? I'm singing my ass off here. If you listen to the whole song, there's some pretty guttural screams and shit. But I'm like, what's going on? I went in there and the sound guy's like, hey, you want to hear your voice 8 octaves lower? Did he hit that? And I'm like going,
Oh, dude.
that's cool, but I gotta recreate this on stage live somehow. So let's bump it up a little bit, you know.
Yeah, and I mean it was awesome. And even when we did play the song live, it still came across great because it had a little reverb, a little bit of delay to it, and you got that structure to it, and it actually sounded fucking just awesome.
Yeah.
But
And that was the point in my life when I realized that I don't know how guys like Dave Draymond and Phil Anselmo could go from that guttural scream to like this singing part.
The harmonic.
Because I destroyed my fucking throat. I couldn't just go from one to the other real quick.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, oh, those guys are freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Know?
You needed a little pause.
Right, yeah. It wasn't just a, you know, I mean, Phil on Cemetery Gates could go from Reverend, you know,
Is
to the
this a
screaming part and then
conspiracy?
right back. It's like, how you do that? I need at least to swallow before I can do that.
Yeah. But I mean, you know,
But that's why they were major superstars, and we didn't make it quite there, but, you know,
no.
we had
So,
some fun.
so some of the greatest things that happened to us while we were a four-piece band playing. One of the greatest highlights, and I'll admit this, is we opened up for a little band out of Georgia called Jackal.
Jackal, yeah.
At
Shout out Jesse James. Love your whiskey, by the way.
yes, but we played. It was a little bitty place in Branson, Missouri, and we opened up for them, and it was fucking. It was great for me because I couldn't play through the house speakers because there was stage extensions that were over the house subs, and to turn up my bass there was too much feedback, so I went straight fucking out of my amp. And granted, I had a big fucking amp.
It wasn't a wall of Ampegs, but
No, but it was a
It done
15-inch Black Widow fucking PV speaker, and had no problem. I matter of fact, I had to have the sound guy pump up the guitars in my monitors because I couldn't hear anymore. All I could hear is fucking my bass. But it was the greatest thing because here's this group of people, never heard us, and they were singing. You know, after the first chorus, they were singing the chorus back to us.
right, because
And it
we
was-
done about half original songs that set, and they were digging our shit as well as the Metallica and the other stuff that we were doing. And that was, I remember breaking down after we got done, and I had this guy come up to me and he's like, hey, can I have a pick? Can I have a pick? You know, and I'm like, yeah,
How many do you want?
you can have a pick, because, you know, I done the Rockstar thing. I had picks on my mic stand and everything, you know, and I threw a couple out, you know, just, you know, being stupid.
Just because.
Yeah, just because. But he's like, can I have a pick? And I'm like, sure. I mean, it doesn't have her name on it. It says Tortex. That was the brand of picks I used at the
Yeah.
time.
Well, he
And
didn't care.
He's like, I don't care, man. I know where it come from. You guys were awesome. You know, it's like, because you got to remember, that was in 1998.
Yeah.
Heavy metal had kind of taken a hit, you know, because the grunge thing had come out, and then a lot of the local stuff around Springfield, Missouri was ska and this weird shit going on.
Yeah, it was like
but-
the Linkin Park, Limp Bizkit sort
Right.
of sound coming out, which, hey, that's fine for them,
Yeah,
but it was
I like some of theirs.
yeah,
music,
it
you know.
it wasn't our
wasn't what
jam.
we wanted to play, you
Right.
know. But for that reaction from a Jackal crowd, who Jackal is just, I mean, they were just a good rock and roll band.
They still are.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't call them a heavy metal band, so to speak. It was just a good hard rock band. It was, you know, you incorporated Chainsaw, you know.
What did you say, like Southern rock?
No, I wouldn't even give them Southern rock.
No,
No, I would-
that'd be Skinner, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
a southern hard rock band, maybe.
I mean, they're all from Georgia, and they do have that Southern sound. Yeah. With the dirty. But, you know, they were a rock and roll band. And we were talking earlier today about rock and roll bands.
Right.
Bands like Little Caesar, you know, they were rock and roll.
Right.
L.A. Guns was rock and roll. Guns N' Roses more hard rock, but they were a rock and roll band.
Tesla,
Rock and roll fucking band.
Right.
Cinderella, a rock and roll band.
a lot of people forget about the '80s metal scene, and it was a lot based on blues.
Yeah.
A lot of that was just raunchy blues, but they went into the costumes and the big hair and everything, and you know.
And that's where a lot of our influence came from, was from the 80s, because we grew up in that time frame.
Right.
You know, there was, you're older than I, you're older than Chris.
What, 7.5 years, 8 years, something like that?
Yeah. Because I was born in late 73.
You graduated in 92, I graduated in 85.
Right. Chris was born in middle of 74. And our drummer at that time was
71, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, you were the grand old man, if you will.
I was the
band.
Vic Mars of the band.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is we all had our you know, Chris was the front man. He was the commander on the stage. He sang vocals, he did rhythm, he did leads. He was the guy.
Right.
You were the wise older person. You know, you'd been around for a minute.
Yeah.
Matriarch.
Both of our drummers actually were like really shy type guys.
Right.
Who,
our second drummer was that shy type guy that could still get the chicks.
that's why he had the nickname Pip.
Exactly.
From the movie Airheads. Shout out to Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Who was the silent, quiet guy who always got the chicks.
Who knew?
And Pip had that dry sense of humor.
Yeah, he did.
He'd come up with shit. I remember one time at band practice, he's like going, Jay and I we had a record deal. That was the guy he was in a band with before us. We're like, you did? He goes, yeah. We bought our 13 CDs, and then we got out of it. I'm like, fucker.
You know, and not to...
For those of you who don't remember, that was Columbia House.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And not to toot my own horn, and not to like try to say that I was anything other than, but I saw myself, and I've been told this, I was the showman in the band, because
definitely, yeah.
Once I got a wireless system and I was no longer like I could only go 20 foot away from my amp, I was everywhere. And I didn't wear a shirt.
No wonder your neck don't work today.
Yeah.
You know.
There could be a good reason why I've got
But that was before Afghanistan.
Yeah. There's a good reason why I've got a ruptured disc in my neck. But, you know, I didn't play with a shirt on. I wasn't as tattooed as I am now. That's definite. And I was in a lot better shape because I was skinnier. I was about 25 years younger.
Well, you know.
But you had the Blues Brothers tattooed on your belly.
And I still do.
And you still do. They're just a little bigger now.
Yeah, a little bit. Just a tad. But, you know.
Can't be that much bigger.
I mean, we had a local DJ from Springfield who came out to our show, and then we were on his show like a week later, and he's like, dude, I was down front and I had my arms out because I just knew your head was going to pop off because I was doing windmills with my hair at the time. And I'm just like, dude, that's just fucking awesome.
What was that? I don't remember hair.
Yeah, I've still got a little bit.
Still got a little bit.
But, you know, it was a great time of my life. I just wish that things outside the band worked out better.
Right.
Because of the time frame and everything like that. I mean, I ended up leaving, moved out to Phoenix. We were a 3-piece at that time. And once I left, Chris came back, and you guys continued on as a 3-piece. And, you know,
we had some good shows. We played up at the Rock and R, up at Fort Leonard Wood, and a place called the Devil's Elbow, which was a biker bar, pretty close to that same time. And we had some good shows up there. I mean, but you know, it all boiled down to the original four of us is, well, our original drummer, he was gonna, he hooked up with the girl who's a friend of my daughter's, and he was gonna leave the band. Basically, she didn't want him to play anymore, which was my wife. She was with me from the start. She's like, I don't understand. She goes, when I was their age, she goes, shit, right now, I think it's cool to be with a guy who's in a band. But he was going to leave, and I told him, I was like, I'm sorry. I'll admit, I ain't the greatest guitar player in the world. And we probably all aren't the best musicians or whatever in the world, but together as a group, we have something really special.
And we did.
And we did. It was, we fed off each other. Chris and I, we could look at each other. Well, sometimes we didn't have to look at each other. We just knew what the other one was going to do before they did it.
Right.
And that was one reason after the final, it wasn't even a breakup. It was just we'd hired a new bass player. We wanted to go back to a 4-piece. And he was really good. But he got busted for weed, and then he came back. He didn't get, he had to spend a weekend in jail. He got caught with a half a joint or some shit.
Yeah.
But he was too interested. He was like 27 at the time. He was too interested in keeping this little 18-year-old girlfriend happy or whatever, and he left, and it was just kind of like, okay, we'll take a break. Well, that break lasted for a long freaking time. And I never had any inclination to want to go out and play with anybody else, because what we had, the original four of us, was a brotherhood.
Right.
Just wasn't the same.
No.
Well,
no. And,
when
and Chris was kind of my muse too,
Yeah.
He'd come up with a lyric, and I'm like our song "Fuck You."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I want to write a song called "Fuck You." And I'm like, okay. I was like, how you thinking about it going? He's like going, fuck you. And I'm like, just started riffing on some chords, and we wrote that song in 10 minutes.
And
basically,
right. And we had been drinking. Because that was like late in a practice session.
That was at the end of band practice. We had a 30-pack of Miller High Life and whatever
bottle
you were
of Captain
drinking.
and yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
But even when I lived,
and we thanked all of our alcohol sponsors. They didn't sponsor us, but we drank their alcohol on our CD.
Yeah. When I lived out in Phoenix, I took one of my basses with me, and I would talk to guys that had bands going, and I'd want to try to jam with them, and it just wasn't. It wasn't there. The feeling wasn't there. The vibe wasn't there, and and it's last 4th of July was the first time that we had played in front of people, and it was cool because my boy Dwight, an old Marine Corps buddy of mine who we had lost contact in like 93, and we had reconnected last year, and he's got this like shrine, if you will, bands that he had met, Machine Head, Metallica, all these different bands that he had met, and he had gotten signatures. And right in the center of this whole thing is our CD that the 4 original members signed for him.
Wow.
And Machine Head and like Deftones and System of a Down and just all these other bands that he had met throughout the years, and ours was dead center. And
that's fucking cool.
When I told him that we were doing a 4th of July show, him and his wife and his son flew up here from fucking Orlando, Florida.
Right.
Oh, well,
To see us. And it was just James and I, and the best we could do was play to our CD because we weren't getting the original drummer.
Right.
We couldn't get a hold of our second drummer.
Right.
Chris is extremely busy with life and family and everything. So it was just him and I. And I don't want to say it was karaoke because we played.
Yeah.
We practiced
Right.
trying to relearn
our
songs.
CD that
Yeah.
we wrote.
Songs that we wrote that we hadn't played, but and we had gave him one of our set lists that we had signed, and when I went down and saw him a couple months later down in Florida, and he had that signed set list along with everything else, and it's like,
Oh, well, hell.
holy shit.
What more could you ask for?
Right. And that's the thing is,
That's the thing, if you could touch one person, it's all worth it,
Well,
it's like we've talked before that had we not started headlining shows, like
Right.
our very first show, we headlined.
Right.
And had we been an opening.
And even when we went to Springfield, we gave them we gave them our demo tape.
Yeah.
They're like going, oh, okay, could you guys play next Saturday night or whatever? And we're like, yeah, we can play. We're thinking we're going to open for somebody.
Right.
No, we headlined. It's like, we don't have, we had a few people, friends of my wife's from where she worked, and, you had a few friends and everything, but it wasn't like, it'd been cool if we could have got to open for like Naked Zoo
Yeah.
for like 6 months.
Or
or something,
The greatest crowd reaction we got in Springfield was when we played a show for South by Southwest.
Right.
And, we were sharing the stage with like 3 other bands or, whatever it was. We had 20, 30 minutes and,
Right.
The crowd was fucking into it because we would get a local band to come and open for us. They would bring their crowd, but then as soon as they were done,
They all split.
they threw up the deuces and were like, we're out.
their crowd was gone.
Yeah, because
hell.
because a lot of those were during the week shows and stuff,
Right.
and everybody had to get up and go to work, and you can't blame them. But I was always kind of weird when I went and paid a cover charge to get in somewhere. I wanted to see the whole freaking show,
Right.
but it is what it is. We could have. We were newbies, and if we were going to do it again, and a club in Springfield said, oh, "Okay, we want you to headline this," I was like, "No,
Nah, we'll open,
we'll open for free."
And, going back and,
Because
hindsight.
the Jackal show, we played in front of a packed house because it was Jackal.
Well,
The people that showed up didn't buy a ticket because we were going to be there.
no.
They bought a ticket because it was Jackal. And I had so many friends from halfway, Bolivar, Buffalo, and stuff that came up to me. It's like, I didn't know you guys done this.
Right. And that's the thing is,
we've been out there for a little while,
and that was well before social media, of course.
Oh, yeah.
But,
Way before.
I remember you had a pager.
I had a
that
pager.
was because of work.
Yeah.
I had a pager because of
Oh,
work.
you used to look at at band practice. You'd look up and go, "Okay, Raiders are losing now."
Oh yeah, because I can check sports on it.
Yeah.
But it's as they say, hindsight is always 20/20.
And looking back, it's still a bit fuzzy.
There it is. But choosing a different photo for the cover of the album.
Right. If we'd have done the T-shirt on the cover of the album,
Yeah.
yeah, that would have been better.
Opening up.
But the cover was cool if you got it.
Right.
It was Chris as a baby
Holding his
grabbing-
package.
holding his package, and the name of the CD was "Want You Some, Get You Some." We thought that was cool as shit.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah.
But people looking at a record store or wherever going, okay,
Yeah. And
because it didn't look metal.
right.
Yeah.
And the thing is with the Jackal show is it was advertised a bunch because like a month later we opened up for Vixen,
Yeah,
and I'll admit they still looked fucking awesome. They still sounded great, but it wasn't advertised, so the crowd
Right.
wasn't fucking there.
right.
Granted, I didn't
The
get
thing-
to see the rest. I didn't get to see
Yeah,
the Vixen show
yeah.
because I had to take off.
You
But
had to take off, but I got to say they were cool because we got the rest of us. We got to go out and they took pictures with us, and it's like, oh yeah, you guys were cool, and or I didn't see your set, but I heard you guys were cool, and you
Yeah.
know, whatever. But I mean, they were nice.
right,
You know, they took pictures with us. Even though I did get a picture with Jesse James when we were signing autographs up front. Because my wife, she came up to me and she goes, "Hey, you guys are," she goes, "you needed up front." And I'm like, "Why?" I said, "We've got all of our stuff packed up and everything." She goes, "No, you guys are signing autographs." I'm like, "Dude, what?" So I
Fuck,
go
what-
up to
what did we do?
our little table is about this big that we had our T-shirts and CDs on, and then Jackal had this whole thing
Yeah.
where their T-shirts and CD were. But people were coming over to us. They didn't buy nothing, but we got to sign. They were like, "Oh, we need your autograph." It's like, okay, so we signed Jackal shit. We signed Jackal CDs, and
yeah,
we signed a couple titties. Thank you.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah.
yeah. You know, and it was, again, it was a great fucking time, and it was that experience of being an opening act. And yeah, we had thoughts of you know, grander times. It's like, oh man, that'd be great to go out on tour, you know, doing this, that, the other. But you know, I mean, outside of Missouri, we played a tattoo convention, Battle of the Bands,
Wichita, Kansas.
Yeah, in Wichita.
Yeah.
And the bad part about that one was it was a local band that won the Battle of the Bands because they had their crowd.
Right.
And
Right.
you know, but I mean, it was still fun.
It's still a good experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, had we had the ability to do more stuff like that, and granted, again, hindsight is always 20/20, but you know, trying to do that now with social media and the internet and being able to go do whatever and really look, okay, what's coming up here, you know, having that place to go to look for stuff
Right.
like that.
Well, I mean, we're sitting here doing a podcast. You know,
Right.
who would ever heard of doing a podcast back in 1998? You know,
Well, according to a certain podcast, there is the
Podfather.
Podfather,
Yeah.
who was the first host of Headbangers Ball
Exactly.
on MTV,
Yep.
Mr. Adam Curry.
Was he doing podcasts in '98?
I don't know when, because I
was-
know in the mid,
We had a Windows 95 and dial-up back then.
yeah.
You know. Then it go down here where I live. It go.
Get off the phone. But you know, that's I think we've covered pretty much what we can cover on that one. Let us know what you think in the comments. Make sure you like and subscribe. Hit the little notification bell, you know, if you want to know when we're releasing new ones. We will be releasing weekly, so
Very weekly.
give us a thumbs up, give us a thumbs down, give us a fuck you. You know, let us know what you like, what we should, you know, do a podcast on, or, you know, whatever.
Yeah, if you
But-
have any suggestions, because we like to get together and we'll have a few drinks and just start talking shit and
Go from there.
Yeah.
you know, and the reason this podcast even started is because we've been doing this for years, just sitting
Yeah.
down, bullshit and drinking. And next morning, the wife's like, "Did you and Matt and Andy get all the world's problems solved last night?" It's like, "Yeah, I think we did."
Yeah, we did, but
But we don't
you know,
remember it. So
Right.
we decided to start recording it and putting it out there for you guys. Like I say, if you like us, you know, let us know. Subscribe, all that good stuff. And
Yeah. But until next time, I am Matt,
I am James.
and you have been watching
J&M.
Solve the World. And until next time,
Peace out.
we'll see you.